The time is now 5:07, so we'll call the regular meeting of the Utility Service Board on Monday, October 14th to order. We do have some guests here today for petitions and communications, so do we have a motion to move that to the beginning of our agenda so they can go ahead and share their comments? And a second? To amend the agenda, yes. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so our communications and petitions will move up to now. So we have our guest here today. If you'd like to come up and state your name and share with us what you'd like to say. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maggie. I'm a longtime Bloomington resident. Hi, Megan. We live in Broadview neighborhood, and we are working to get our septic system changed over to city sewer. And we have a system, it's like 50, 60 years old. We knew that coming into the property. Since we've been in this house this last 7 years, the city put in a main down the road and put connections in for, as far as I know, most of the neighbors. So when we've been communicating, my husband and I, with Nancy about getting our septic situation worked out, we were told that we need to cover the cost of the stub in the road cut, which is an expense that wasn't a consideration for a lot of our neighbors. So it's sort of surprising to us, and we live kind of far off the road, so the cost for us is already going to be pretty expensive, which, like I said, we knew that was going to happen, that would be quite an expense when it came to that, but the city's asking us to pay an additional expense that I'm hoping we can have the city cover as they have for our other neighbors. So, yeah, I know that you guys got some information, and I'm happy to answer any questions or go into more detail, but that's what I'm hoping to get addressed.
So yes, we did receive some information from you and your neighbor, communicating with Nancy and Frank, explaining the situation. So you've been in your residence 7 years, and it came through in 2019, and you were not given a stub at the end of the drive. Yes.
A few different things we were told. Gina, my neighbor, was told over the phone that we were simply forgotten. Other people have said that we weren't able to connect at that time because they thought we were going to need a pump because we are set back off of the road, which actually with our estimate, they did the grade evaluation and we actually don't need a pump. So if the reason we were left out was because of that, then that doesn't quite make sense. So I understand that it's quite an expense and that the city put out a lot of money and that it was maybe even grant money that was used and it ran out, but it's already such a huge cost for us that it makes it almost impossible for us to move forward at this point. And because we're in city limits, I don't know that there are options for putting in a septic system. I don't think that would be approved in the city. I think the cost would be probably comparable. I don't know. Our estimate from the contractor was $7,300 for the road cut portion, which is what we're hoping we don't have to pay. We're happy to pay the connection fee, which is, I think, $2,000 something, and we're prepared to pay the contract bid, which is, $18,000 to $20,000 on our personal cost. But that additional payment, and it depends on whether Dave and Gina, depending on where they go, I understand that the city was hoping that if they did it at the same time, the cost would be halved, but it's still, even at the half cost, is just such an exorbitant cost for my family, so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Board members, do you have any questions? Are you representing our staff today? Okay. So can you explain some more about why it was not included in 2019, please?
Yes. Phil Peden, Assistant Director Engineering. So this was a project that we received a grant for in 2019. The CBU T&D crews, we designed it in-house in engineering, and then T&D crews were the contractor. And we were limited by the grant funding. So we we tried to expand it through as much of the neighborhood as we could, and we examined the most efficient way to serve as many houses as possible with the money that we had. So we extended it to the east, if you look at the map, toward Milton, and to pick up those homes. And then we extended it west up Ralston to try to get to those homes as well. We made it almost a Maggie's Place there.
Sorry, could you just point to it on the map?
Sure.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
I don't have a cursor, but if
Okay.
I just,
I have some clue, but not enough.
you're in one of these here.
Yeah.
This is Ralston, and you come down.
Yeah.
So yeah, these are contour map lines. So this is, you're going downhill as you go this way, and this is uphill towards the peak. So we looked at these, and it was going to be a challenge to serve those lots. There was some unknowns there, whether or not they could be served by gravity or whether they were going to have a pressure main, but we were also out of money, so we stopped at that point. Obviously, if we went a little further west, we could get that house that's in front of hers, that's adjacent to the road, and probably the next one up, that's just before you get off the page there. So, but we stopped there due to the funding, and if you look, if their lots were to be served, it looks like it would have to go across a couple other properties to get to the green line is the sanitary sewer that's depicted, and then the stars are the lots we thought we could serve. And so there were just quite a few unknowns on whether or not by extending the main, those homes would actually be served, so it was stopped short of that property at the time.
So all of the properties starred on this map were served with this grant in 2019?
They can be served.
Or were set up?
Yes, they were set up to be served. Some of those have not connected to the line yet. That's still at their choice. So we've extended laterals to the edge of the right-of-way at their lots.
And how was this grant determined to use the funds for this neighborhood?
It was an area that wasn't served by sewer, and it was lower income. I think it met some criteria that was worthy to receive the grant.
Where'd the grant come from?
It was a community development block grant.
CDBG.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, since CDBG is administered through the city, civil city, an opportunity to get another phase from CDBG on this?
I'm not sure.
It's a thought,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, have we asked?
We have not.
Okay.
There's a significant process to go back through the grant application, but we have not asked.
When we do, when the city approves a CDBG grant, I'm just speculating here because I wasn't familiar with this one. It's a certain amount of money for a project. And sometimes when you actually get to the project, it costs more or less. And it's a priority for municipal government to get off of septic systems. So,
Yeah, I think from a staff and perspective that we would love to see everyone in this neighborhood get on sewer and off the septic. I think that would be a goal. That was the goal of the project, and it's just unfortunate that the funds ran short to where we could get there. But trying to say how to word this, but I would say that was a $200,000 project that we extended all the way up. That was one component. We did the design and the construction, so there was cost savings in that as well. And then we do cover the cost of the connection fee. I think Maggie mentioned that they were willing to pay that. That's actually covered because we'll offset the payment for that through our stormwater budget, so that it removes the potential contaminants from the stormwater system. So those costs for septic transfer or decommissioning of the septic are covered.
I take it, so wonderful project that happened in 2019, so I'm not like, I just hated that we have a few customers that were left off, and then now, realize that, and then don't have the ability to take advantage of those grant funds and have their houses a part of this when all of their neighbors, or many of their neighbors do.
I think, yeah, another point is that I don't think the staff's opposed to the board approving the funding for these connections. It's just not in our standard practice. So the lateral is owned by the customer from the main connection all the way to the home, and those other laterals were only extended because they were part of a construction contract. And so once that construction project's over, then that lateral's the homeowners. And so it's unfortunate those weren't, part of the project because they didn't get extended that far. But we're in favor of removing septics, and we're not opposed to paying for it. But it's just that that's not a standard practice for.
You were aware at the time that there were a few places being left out?
Yes. Yeah, we knew that there was other places that might be able to be served, but it was unclear whether they could be. I will say that, so we talked about the gravity and serving the lots by gravity, and was going to have to cross those other properties to the north or to the east, potentially, unless they had an easement down their driveway. And then, Nancy, could you hold up that device that's under that chair back there? At the time, we did not have a design approved for fitting a pressurized line to our gravity laterals. So it was against our construction specification for a pressurized line to tie into a gravity-fed sewer lateral. Well, this was designed by our engineering team a few years ago after this project. So prior to that, if they were going to have a pressurized line, it had to tie into a manhole. So that also was another reason why we didn't extend a lateral, because if they were going to be using a pump and a pressurized line, then they would have to tie into a manhole, and then we would just be extending a lateral to the edge of the right-of-way, which we're estimating is around $5,000 per lateral to do that at our expense during the project when the budget was very tight. So.
What would be the cost to the city of adding these two properties? Is it?
Yeah, we did an estimate about $4,700 per line.
So it's
If-
about
Unless they were
10,000
side
more.
by side, and then it would just be 6,000 total.
So it's somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like a lot of money, considering that the city benefits also from.
And how many additional addresses are not served in this immediate area?
The neighbors to Maggie, and then there's a home on the north side of the road. You see where it Y's and then comes up to Ralston? I think it ended up being served, but if you look back to the right, there's a house behind a house with a blue line to the right again, and two more lots, and then there's a house further north, that one. That one was not served because we weren't sure how they would cross the creek with the gravity.
I guess my question is, as he designed this, and it's kind of a follow-up to Jim's question, when you designed the project and went to CDBG for the funding, did you know then that you weren't sure about these, or did that kind of come up as the project went on?
Yeah, we stopped short of this because we were unsure, but we were out of money, so we stopped at that point. So.
But did CDBG think they were going to get that far?
No, this is what we showed CDBG as who we would connect on the green.
Okay.
On the green, so they weren't included when we did that.
This isn't a quick solution, but I think, to me, it makes more sense for us to look at it like a Phase 2 CDBG grant for this, because it would stay in line with our practice and not set precedent of going outside our normal procedures. It's going to take a while to do that because we need to get through the next CDBG round of funding, and it's iffy. But do you think, have we got anything else working with CDBG to?
We have a detention pond project that we already had awarded to us last year that will be constructed this year if we get our permitting. And I think their applications are in October. So it's coming up.
My thought is, since they thought well enough of this project, that to finish it would seem to be a pretty good idea. And it would keep us in line with our normal customer and ratepayer practice.
So we would know in October,
October is when you submit.
and when do they decide?
I
Not
think,
sure.
yeah, November, December, before the end of the year.
So,
And then it's another 6 months before you get funding. So Maggie would have to wait a while if they're.
Are we in a hurry here?
Well, I
We have a
believe one,
failing system, or-
I believe at least someone's system was failing.
I apologize, I should have said that. Our system's been failing. It was in December when it started failing. So since January, not done laundry at home. Or done these are dishwasher and things like that. So it's pressing for us. I understand that it's not for you, but.
Well, failing systems are a priority for us. No doubt about that. Our problem is staying consistent with our policies and practices so that we're fair to everybody.
we always have the option if there are.
We do.
If there are special circumstances and benefits to the city, then it can be a decision that we make. I mean, it just seems to me that the benefits of doing this to the ratepayer and getting rid of the
Failing
the
system.
failing system is, it's not a whole lot of money.
Right.
So-
Any other failing systems that this could cover?
Are you aware of any?
So why,
But it's interesting, after the project, you start to hear, oh, this one, I think Nancy did research and we've had 13 that have connected. So not 34 yet, 13 have chose to connect, so. But as they start to fail, and they're getting to that age, and one of the reasons why we chose this neighborhood too was that the health department said the lots were too small to build another septic field. There's no alternative solution for them.
Yeah.
is it possible that we could put this on an agenda as an agenda item and discuss it, let's say, at the next meeting? Where, I think Kirk's idea is a good one, and there may be other possibilities we can come up with.
You ask if it's possible, and yes, it's possible. As the board, you are allowed to set your own agenda items. So if you want to do that, simply let us know, and as a staff, we'll put it on the agenda for the
Well,
next meeting.
That's what I would recommend. I can't speak for.
Well, we can make a motion to.
Yes, okay. So, because I know there's a sense of urgency for this.
You don't even need a motion to have it put on the agenda for the
Okay.
next meeting. Just let us, we'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
If you'd like.
So we'd like to put this on the agenda for next meeting, please. Thank you. All right.
And I would say that in the meantime, what we would like maybe is, some additional staff investigation to give us some more firm numbers about where we are and options.
Okay.
And how many additional residences would need to be connected to finish the neighborhood, or that street? Yes.
Okay.
Jim, did you have any comments or questions?
Jeff has
Jeff,
one
sorry.
comment. No, that's okay. Well, yeah, I mean, so before I saw the map and before the map was explained, and I read the materials, and the assertion that the customer was told that they were, passed over, forgotten, to me, and the way that this was explained, that wasn't the case. Rather, the project boundaries were drawn, and it's unfortunate. I apologize on behalf of whoever may have said that you were forgotten or passed over. it looks like that, we drew the boundaries to accommodate as a big a project as we could fit with the funds available. So just reading the materials, I now have a different understanding, having looked at the map and having explained to me, so I appreciate that. But I agree, looking for any other funding sources or trying to expedite getting some type of grant would be good to help alleviate the real world problems that our customers are having.
Okay, we can do that.
So it'll be put on the agenda for next time. So Maggie, you should come back in 2 weeks.
And did you have anything else you wanted to say this evening?
No, I appreciate
Okay. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Phil. Sorry, Jeff. Okay. Okay. All right, yes. Are there any other petitions and communications from the public? All right, so we'll continue on with our agenda, starting with approval of the minutes from our previous meeting on July 31st. Do we have a motion, or do we have any questions? Is there a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next is approval of claims. First, we have standard invoices in the amount of $1,341,747.60. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we have utility bills in the amount of $23,951.97. Are there any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Finally, customer refunds in the amount of $2,610.78. Do we have any questions? Hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the approval of our consent agenda. And tonight we have Matt Havey. Okay.
Present the consent agenda to you this evening for agreements totaling $38,919. We have a contract for an agreement for Black and Veatch for $19,970, Yakagawa for $13,950, and Patriot Engineering for $4,999. Would any board member like to pull any of these items from the consent agenda and discuss them individually? Hearing none, if there is no objection, then the consent agenda will be approved as presented. And hearing none, the consent agenda is approved as presented. Thanks.
All right, next on the agenda, we have a request for approval of subway fog compliance with Jason Winning.
Jason Winning, pretreatment coordinator. So you have before you MOU for 7 subway locations here in town. At the beginning of the year, they were all purchased by the same group under various entities, and it was found that of the 9 locations purchased, 7 needed upgrades with their grease retention devices. Normally we work on one restaurant at a time, one FSC at a time. They came to us and asked for more time just to be able to manage the scheduling of the installation of 7 different devices at 7 different locations. A few of the locations they had planned to move in the near future and asked for some kind of dispensation with that as well. So we worked with them to create an MOU, give them more time for installation, and then give them a window to move those other locations before we would require installation.
Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve? All in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Aye. I approve, sorry. Okay, the motion for the approval of the subway fog compliance is approved. Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, request for approval of a MOU between the City of Bloomington Utilities Department and the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission. Catherine Zeiger, thank you.
Hello, Catherine Zager, Environmental. I'm presenting an MOU for CBU to contribute to the installation of a green roof at the Trades District Tech Center. We are offering to contribute $310,000 towards the installation of this green roof at the Tech Center. I'll take any questions.
Do our board members have any questions about this project? Yes, Jeff.
Yeah, a few questions. First, is this funding already present in our green infrastructure budget?
It is from the green infrastructure budget, yes. We looked at our green infrastructure budget and made sure that we could accommodate this.
And
Yes.
what's our total green infrastructure budget? Can you remind me, please?
Sorry, what's that?
What is the green infrastructure budget total?
Each year it is $400,000. I think in the last year it was 500,000. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it's about 3/4 of a year's budget.
Yes, this is the most substantial funding we've made towards green infrastructure in the city thus far.
So what are the opportunity costs here in terms of, obviously, we can't do other things with that 3/4 of the total budget. So what are we giving up if we move ahead with this?
We do fund a smaller amount, like we set aside a smaller amount every year for smaller rain garden projects, green infrastructure, and we're going to continue to do that. The funding for this, we looked at how much we spent every year, and we did have some left each year. And so we were going to use that towards this as well. I don't think we're really giving up any projects as far as like giving up other projects to do this.
Not any planned project, sure, but
Yes.
we're giving up something. Who else is contributing? Who else would be contributing to this?
So to the green roof specifically, the RDC is, I think it's the RDC, right? Yeah, thank you.
Are they kicking in?
For the green roof itself, so the total cost of the green roof is $400,000, and we agreed to pay for the cost difference between the green roof and what it would cost them to not have the green roof and do the required detention and water quality treatment, which would have likely been underground with an aqua swirl, I'm assuming. So there's a cost difference to have this, but it's something that we really wanted to support. We were actually really happy that they came to us because they were considering taking it out of their project and wondered if we'd be able to contribute. I just think it's something really exciting that we can put our name on. It'd be the first of its kind in Bloomington, in the city of Bloomington.
What are the potential O&M costs? Is there a tail that we would be responsible for in any way?
No, all of the maintenance and repairs would be with the RDC. They would do all of that.
Do we already have a company in mind that we've been working with on planning and getting the estimate? I mean, do we know who would install this roof?
So I don't think we know who's going to install it at this point. They have a plan for it, and they're hoping to put it out to bid soon.
So to me, in Bloomington, it's a fairly new thing. I know they do this in other communities. Do these structures hold up well over time?
Yeah, if they're well maintained, they do. Yeah.
Okay. Those are all my questions.
Awesome.
Like you say, this is a new project. And would you say the first in Bloomington?
The first for the city of Bloomington. I believe IU may have had a green roof at some point. I think they had one on the SPIA building.
Could be.
At
Wow.
one point.
rife with O&M tails.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of work to
Technology's
fix
come a long
those.
way since then.
Sure.
There's one on Sixth Street, Yellow Cat.
Oh, nice. Yeah. This would be the first for the city to have.
Yeah, so I think it'd probably be good, we've got information on it, but for the public record, explain how all this works.
Sure.
I mean,
Like how green infrastructure, like how the green roof works.
how a green roof
Yeah.
works. What do you plant? What kind of maintenance does it need? And pardon?
All
Yeah.
right, so we have, I think, slides here that show the standard modules. This is actually from the specs that we were provided. This is you could call it a blue-green roof. The top layer is the traditional green roof. They will have cells that will have a variety of native plants. A lot of the plants that have been spec'd for this are stone crop, which are native succulents. There's also some native grasses and forbs as well. The bottom section you see there in blue is actually how it retains water. So if you scroll down a little bit, there's another diagram of it. And keep going. Just a little bit. Oh, there it is, yeah. Just a little further. The medium one, or the middle one, not medium, sorry. The middle one, right there where it's circled. So that is, that's the model that I think they're still hoping to put on there. At least that's what's in the specs. And the circled number there, the 1.35 gallons per square foot, that's the the minimum holding capacity of just the blue portion of it. And then if you include the green portion of it, the green roof portion, in the standard column, you can see that 2.45 gallons per square foot is what's detained. So it's really cool. So, if you have an average rainfall, you probably won't even see anything coming out of the downspout. And so basically, it rains on the roof, and instead of shedding like a typical roof and going down the downspout and shedding whatever the shingles are made out of, into the storm system, it is captured on site on the roof, filtered through the soil substrate, and then captured in the blue cells underneath, and then overflow goes through the downspout.
Drought,
I assume there will be watering as part of the maintenance for drought, yeah.
yeah, might be severe.
But a lot of these stone crops are pretty drought resistant. A lot of your natives, especially the ones that they spec'd, could handle some pretty tough conditions.
So we're being asked to fund the additional cost from a standard roof system that this building would normally have. And then, do we take funding for these kind of projects from stormwater, or which budget?
Yeah, it's stormwater. All the green infrastructure comes from the stormwater fund, yeah.
Okay. So the trade-off for us is less demand in the stormwater system and a more environmentally friendly system.
Yeah, and I think there's also the added benefit, in addition to it causing less tax on the stormwater system and being environmentally friendly, part of the MOU allows us to have access to the roof whenever we'd like, and I envision it being a big part of our education and outreach program.
Okay. And then Jeff kind of mentioned the long-term maintenance for these facilities. It looks maintenance heavy to me.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking down the road, Trades District is, that tech center is an RDC project at the moment. Not sure who's going to own it long-term, but if there's going to be a lot of maintenance, I'm just wondering if we'll be asked to help with that down the road as well.
So that's why I'm really happy that in the MOU, the RDC has agreed to take care of maintenance and necessary repairs. There's also a part of the MOU that if, for any reason, they're no longer able to maintain it or have the green roof, they'll have to pay to install the features that would make up for the detention and water quality that they'd be losing.
Okay.
Follow-up question to that, because that was one of my questions. So, like, if it's not maintained, they have to pay for the to make up for it, but that wouldn't have cost them $300,000 to begin with, though, right?
I mean,
So
probably
then,
not.
how do we I mean, like, if it doesn't pan out, then how do we recoup the $300,000? Or we just, that's like a loss to us?
I mean, yeah, I don't know if we would recoup the $300,000 if it, you know.
Or a percentage of it or something,
Yeah.
yeah?
They have to build similar projects to that value? Wasn't that the way the contract
Yeah.
read? The MOU
Yeah.
read?
Okay,
Yeah, so they have to meet detention and water quality requirements no matter what.
Right.
This just seemed like a really good opportunity to have this kind of green infrastructure. And part of the way that we see it is that we encourage private developers all the time to include BMPs like this in their infrastructure. And so this is a really good opportunity for us to kind of walk that walk and say, like, look, we're doing it too. This is what we want to see for the city.
okay. Because that was my other question was, so like, what about the next project? Like, if another building wanted, like, we can't give I wouldn't think we can give $300,000 every year for somebody else's roof, but why is it, I guess, this project because they were first to approach us and somebody else didn't, or?
So we're approached all the time. We work with city engineering for a lot of those like smaller greenways, right-of-way projects where we add green infrastructure. This just happens to be the largest project that we've been approached with, and it's also, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, but this is also city property, and I assume it will be for a while. I think that's part of it too. I don't know if we would make the same offer to private developers.
And then last question.
All right.
Well, I didn't write it down, so I'll come back to it in a minute. Seth, did you have a question? No. Was there anybody else who had a question? Yes.
I misspoke. Item 5 says, should the RDC choose to remove the infrastructure or permit the infrastructure to no longer operate as intended, then the RDC agrees to design and submit plans to CBU for alternative stormwater features and install the same in order to replace the lost stormwater detention and treatment qualities provided by the infrastructure. So it's not necessarily $300,000 worth. It's whatever it takes to provide a function similar to what would be afforded through this green roof.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you. I've remembered. So this $300,000, since it's in your budget, if the money that's rolled over each year, it's not able to be shifted to another budget, that's just lost to be rolled over? Or how does that work? Like, if we knew a more pressing project needed $300,000, and then here we've got, I don't know, I'm just,
Every time we do a rate case, we do construction improvement plans for each of the utilities. And over that course of that case is a certain amount of money set back for green infrastructure. And what we found is in the past years, we haven't spent it all. So it's still in our pool right now to use.
on green infrastructure. Okay, that's the question I meant to ask. Thank you. Okay.
So if we were to spend this $300,000 on alternative projects, say some of these rain gardens or other projects, would we afford the same benefits to the stormwater system as we would with this green roof? How would those equate? Is there any way to judge that sort of benefit for well, you've done it for the roof, it sounds like, because you have engineering specs and you can estimate that. but could you compare it to $300,000 worth of rain gardens?
I mean, I think you could. You could compare it to $300,000 worth of rain gardens if you wanted to look at detention capacity. Most of the rain gardens that we've funded, we actually ran into this recently as we're starting to put them into our asset management systems. But because they're so small, often the same drainage report isn't generated because they have such a small footprint, and their detention isn't as large as obviously this very large roof that holds somewhere around 2 cubic feet per square foot. Yeah. So you could.
2 gallons per square.
Thank you, 2 gallons. That's what it was.
So you're saying that it's likely that $300,000 with the rain gardens wouldn't likely provide the same amount of benefit that this roof might, is what I just heard you say.
Well, let's see. I guess what I meant was that we don't have the same drainage calculations for all the rain gardens that we've currently put in, but you could probably put that together based on the detention capacity. $300,000 worth of rain gardens. Typically, our rain garden projects, for example, the one we most recently funded on West Allen was 2 rain gardens with, I'm going to try to ballpark. You know what? They have much less detention capacity. I don't want to put a number out there. $50,000 for the 2.
Well, I'm just.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to
Yeah.
if we have 2 and they, have, gosh, I don't know how much they hold necessarily, but it's not, I don't know. Phil, would you have an idea of how much a typical rain garden holds?
Just a comment, Jeff. I think the added benefit of this is that the hope is it serves as a model for others.
Here, and
It's not just about the water.
So
Yeah.
I understand that, but if you came to me and said that there's that benefit, that added benefit of doing this, and it's a showcase project, and we kind of have access to it with 24 hours notice, and you're gonna have a lot more people likely build roofs like this, and you said, we're getting a lot more bang for the buck, with this $300,000, if you're able to say that to me, then it's kind of a slam dunk. But right now, I'm like, wow, well, that's a lot of money. That's 3/4 of our budget. Probably
Absolutely.
going to support you because this sounds like something that we've already allocated money for. We're not using all the money. It's something new that we can showcase. It sounds like it gives a lot of benefit and likely gives more than $300,000 with the rain garden. But I'm just saying, if you came to us with that information as well, at least that would help convince me more than you've already convinced
Yeah.
me.
No, I think it's great. And I'm just trying to think okay, so if we had 6 of the rain gardens we just built, that would be the same price as this green roof. And I think at best it would be comparable. And I think the green roof probably has a little bit more. I think at best it's comparable,
So
yes.
it's an estimate and your best guess, I understand, but
Yeah.
that sort of information helps us or helps me,
Yeah.
make these decisions where I'm just like, that's a lot of money and we have
Absolutely.
a lot of other projects. I know this is allocated to green infrastructure, but at first glance, I didn't know where the money was coming from and,
Oh, yeah.
we figured this out, but thank you.
No, that's a really great point.
Or comments? All right, hearing none, do we have a motion to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Bloomington Utilities Department and the Bloomington Redevelopment Commission? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, they're coming. Here you go. Thank you. All right. All right, old business. Do we have any old business from the board? Old business from staff? All right, new business from the board. New business from staff. Subcommittee reports, engineering, met this evening.
Yes, we met with Tina Wolf, who was an engineer from Coco Singh Construction. She presented general information on using a guaranteed saving contract, a GSC, as a procurement method for the city. Her discussion included GSCs, where it fits into the Indiana code and where it could be used. It gives more flexibility to a contract and can be used in a single project or a larger program contract. New GSC contracts can build off the city's standards and give potential savings back to the utilities. Saving types were explained with examples of measures compared to stipulated savings. Seems like our engineering department says that this keeps projects moving along better, and the flexibility is attractive as well.
Thank you, Seth. Any other questions or comments on that? All right. Staff reports.
I got a couple things. Just wanted to give everybody a heads up about the property and planning subcommittee meeting before our next board meeting. A couple things that'll be on there is a deeper dive into the financial analysis for the new building. There were some questions about that when it got presented at the finance subcommittee, so we're planning on going on that. And then to also bring to everybody's attention about where we are in our stormwater and wastewater bond process for this year. So that'll come in 2 weeks. The only other item I have is sad news is that our superintendent at Blucher Pool passed away, I think August 2nd. So I think there's a service for him in Washington, Indiana, a week from today in the evening.
Okay.
That's all that I got.
All right. Thank you. We're very sorry to hear of the passing, and we'll be thinking of their family and all of our staff that worked with them. Thank you. Yes, Kirk.
I might suggest that we do, I don't know if this has been past practice or not, but a resolution from the board for his years of service, recognizing that, would be a good thing for us to do. Because when you have a long employee that's done a lot of good work, it's good for us to recognize their service. Something their family can know that we recognize that on behalf of all those folks that he served over the years.
Yes. Thank you. How do we do that?
Pardon?
How might we go about doing that?
I'll help her tomorrow.
Yeah,
Is it?
career highlights and that sort of thing to draft for us, and we can add some more, and
Yes.
Yeah, sounds good.
then we can present it to the family.
Okay.
Thank you for
I will
that
collect that.
suggestion.
Regarding the financial analysis of the new service center, my understanding was that there was a handout 2 weeks ago. Can we get that for those of us that weren't here, and any other information ahead of the property and planning committee? In fact, that handout, if we can get it like fairly soon, rather than on the Thursday before, that would be helpful.
Yeah, we can make that happen.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Or if you have one printed out now, that would be fine too.
I don't have one.
Thanks.
Okay. Well, I know that it's Customer Service Week, so we want to thank our customer service staff members who are our faces and our voices of the CBU, and appreciate all that they do, because they set the tone for everything else that everyone else does, as far as interacting with our customers, and so we appreciate them and wish them a great week, and appreciate everything that everyone else is doing. I read about, we have some staff members who are working overnight on Fountain Drive doing an installation. Is that correct? So, oh, that was last week. Well, thank you. So that's out of routine though, right? Like, so thank you to those folks who are doing that and changing up their schedules. And I know we've got a lot of things going on that we don't even know about, that people are doing every day here. So thank you all. Are there any other questions or comments? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know we did public comment.
Oh, do it again. Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Having heard all the meeting today, do we have any additional petitions or communications? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you.